ES Cinder, a remix of Dark Souls 3 by Rotaka. Folks, you know what that song means.
I'd say it's every month, but kind of had some things going on last
Right?
month.
I mean, I hope you all know what that song means since we had to skip last month
Yeah,
for aforementioned things, but that's all right. That's all right.
I
Um,
started thinking as to like how long that song has been a thing. It's been a thing for a very long time.
Several years, I would say it might even be time to consider switching it up if we find a
Yeah,
suitable replacement,
yeah.
which,
See,
I anticipate we'll be
we're
able to
about
do.
to be like able to do shows again in person, like
Yeah,
actually on a
yeah.
regular basis. So maybe we could audition some new music together instead of trying to do it over was it Discord even back then? It was probably
Uh,
Skype or something.
oh, God, I hope not.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure we've been using this for like 6 years.
That would be in the long, long ago if it was Skype. Oof. I
Uh,
don't want to think about it.
yeah, yeah, okay, that's good. I like that. Let's not.
But anyways, it's time for insert credits. Round 104. More weird things. Hello, everybody. I'm Mr. Bond.
And I'm Tormod most of the time.
Uh, okay. Well, who are you the rest of the time then, though?
Dissociating.
Oh, okay. All right. You know what? That's fair. But anyways, this is a podcast and/or multimedia presentation where we talk about the video games. We start off, thank you for the scare air quotes, where we start off with some video game news in our first segment, and we break for some cool tunes, and then we talk about what we've been playing since last time, which will include 2 months of stuff this time. And then we break for some more tunes, and then at the end we do some design live on the air based on a random smattering of things that a website gives to us. So that's always real fun. It gets kind of wild. We may or may not have made probably 2 erotic games now. I think
Oh
that
yeah.
number goes up every time I think about it. Who knows? Who can even remember?
Uh,
But it is
Having
fun.
some spicy thoughts then, I
Hey
guess.
man, look. All right, don't shame. Don't kink shame.
Never. Not on this show.
Not out loud
Not
at any
on
rate.
this show. The I don't know. The 8th year of our not Lord erotic show creation podcast. Yes.
Is it 8 years? I think I looked at this again recently and discovered that if we included Seeking Infinity in this, it would have been 11 years.
Okay. I was looking exclusively at insert credits.
Oh yeah.
And did you know that decades are base 10 and not base 12?
I mean, yes, it's in the name.
Sometimes the I'm not looking at hours, I'm looking at years. And yes, years have 12 months and there's
Mm-hmm.
12 hours in half a day. And,
Uh-huh. So there's 6 years and a half a decade. Is that where you're going with this?
something about a baker's dozen. I don't know.
Oh, 13 years in a decade would be kind of rough, but base 13
Great
in
number, isn't it?
general would be pretty rough, I think, because I mean, it's a prime and all that, but it'd be kind of hard to count by,
Mm,
I think.
that'd be prime time every time.
Oh, hey, you'll be here all night. Try the veal.
Woof.
Yeah, that's insert credits pretty much with a very practical demonstration of the kind of tangents we go on. So if you're here for that, great, you are in the right place. If you're not here for that, well, too bad. That sounds like a you problem.
Hey, guess what?
What?
So the next time we're going to do a show on Friday the 13th,
Oh, we were
and I'm
one off.
signing you up
Yeah.
for this, sorry.
Oh no.
This is on your birthday.
Oh cripes! Really?
Yep.
Oh, I don't like it. I already don't like it. Ah, shit. You're right. Okay. Well,
No.
that's an easy scheduling for around whatever that's gonna be, like 109, 108.
Some number. Depends if we skip any more months. I don't think we will,
Right.
though. So this
September,
is
October, November, December,
104, going
January.
into
So
5 in
109.
September, 6 in October, 7 November, 8. Yeah, 109,
Huh.
allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah. Well, won't be 109 until it actually happens. But jeez, that's a scary thought. Okay,
Is
I will.
109 a prime too?
Uh,
I think so.
yeah, I think it is.
Not divisible by 3 or 2,
Correct.
or 5, or 7, I think. Yeah.
Or something weird like 17 or 13 or something.
Maybe 13.
Not 13.
No, it's not 13.
Not 17. Not 19. I think it might be a prime.
Hell yeah.
I don't know why I just didn't look it up directly. instead of trying to do math.
Is there like an actual function for that to be
No,
real
I
easy or
just
what?
ask the Google and it says, is 109 a prime
Oh,
number? Very bold. Yes.
okay,
Okay.
cool.
We
We
did it.
did it.
Excellent. Well, I think it's high time to get into housekeeping, including scheduling our next 3 shows here, which we already have the
Yeah, how
one
about
for
those next 3 shows?
September. 16th of September is for 105.
Uh-huh. Might be there in Madison for that. Dunno. We'll
Okay.
have to see.
I
Not
am
entirely sure about the Labor Day thing yet because oh god, driving.
right,
But
right. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, duly warned I am. So that leads us into October for 106. Which looks like
Yes.
14.
14?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that sounds tasty. Okay.
What did I just say? 106. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. And then that would lead us into November for 107, which looks like 18, because then the following weekend is standard Thanksgiving, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that one's going to be kind of up in the air depending.
Okay. How about we pencil in a digital pencil, whatever, for 18, and then we can revisit if we need to.
Sure, sounds good.
107. Very good.
Can I get us onto a tangent one more time?
I guess. Why do you even ask? Like, we're gonna do it.
All right, that's fine. So as I was looking at the calendar and brain went blank for a minute there because that's my life these days. That was definitely a noise that I made, not related at all to a former resident of Townhouse 7.
Oh my god. Yeah, you're right.
But it reminded me, we talked about this fever dream that I've been living the last several months. We talked about Goat Stimulator 3, right? How they're skipping number 2.
Yes, and
Okay.
I heard stimulator, but I know it was simulator, so that's the mind space that I'm in right now.
I know I actually said stimulator.
Oh, okay, very good.
Because that's what the game is.
Oh, is it really? It's
stimulating.
actually fantastic.
No.
Well, hey, you could.
Sorry.
It would match. It really would. Like that's exactly the kind of bullshit they would pull on top of skipping too.
Do you remember that poor guy who I have no idea if he actually worked at the studio or not, but going around in the goat suit, just looking real sad, handing out coupons? It was great.
Yeah, you got a picture with him.
I did. I cherish that. I sometimes even remember that I have photos going back more than 6 months, and I'll actually look at them.
There you go. That's what photos are for, I guess. Precious memories. Precious memories.
Yeah. Especially for that guy.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, you have a very clear memory of it happening. Do you remember which PAX that was, though? Because I sure don't.
I think it was 2015.
Was it 2015? Okay. I'll trust you.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
You know, some epoch from now, we might be able to go back.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's
depends on which virus du jour is going around at that point.
Or if it's just the same one. Oh. But yeah, all right. Well, that was a good tangent. Like, and you even announced it beforehand. So, all right, we're getting better.
Getting better.
All right. Well, I think that does it for housekeeping at the very least. We did our civic duty in scheduling the next 3 rounds here. So now we can move into Around the World, our very first major segment here. So, I mean, this is going to demonstrate the title of the round, which is More Weird Things, because I got some weird things to talk about. First couple things. More weird things that can run Doom. A $15 IKEA smart lamp can run Doom. Somebody hacked whatever controller board they have on there, and Doom is actually running off of that thing. It's not just being displayed on it, it's the lamp itself running Doom. So that's fun.
You have to turn the lamp on. This is like Soviet Doom now.
Correct. There you go. Lamp turns... Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, that works the first way. But yeah, so if you want a cheap Doom machine, go to IKEA and pick up a smart lamp, and then also do all this weird homebrew shit that he did to make it work. Pretty cool. Something that is also weird running Doom, a Lego brick is running Doom. Now this one isn't actually running Doom, it's just displaying Doom, but we'll count it as running Doom. And let's see, what is it? Pixel density of a 0.42 inch screen. Because it's on one of those, this little, starts as a 2x2 on the bottom and then kind of ramps up to a 1x2 on the top, one of those little angle pieces. And it happens to be like a transparent blue piece as well. So you can't really see anything very well. But there is a display in that sucker that is showing Doom. So congrats, they are running Doom on Legos now. Oof.
Great.
Away from weird things running Doom, more things being preserved, some weird and some not. This one happens to be Doom related. The old dumb phone Doom turn-based RPG has been reverse engineered, and now it's available on more platforms.
Okay, I wasn't aware that one was a thing, so
Yeah.
elucidate me.
I guess. So it's Doom RPG. Apparently, it was in id Software's official Year of Doom Museum at E3 2019, 10 years ago. But yeah, apparently it was a game from 2005, meant to be played on old, dumb flip phones or whatever. Apparently had a color screen or whatever, turn-based garbage that you can now play. Which is very weird. Some of the colors are weird. Cacodemons are yellow and not red. Shotgun looks pretty accurate. So does Doom Guy's portrait. That looks fine. The menu's a little bit weird with fonts. Chain Gun Guy's in there. Imps are
So
in
the
there.
evil sentient meatball is like rotting now?
I guess. Yeah, it's honestly creepier in a shade of yellow than it ever was in red.
Yeah. Yeah. Ew.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not great, but hey, it's out there that you can play now. Good job on reverse engineering that, people. I mean, fuck. You got time in your hands. I'm glad you are bettering humanity, and I do mean that sincerely. Like, that sounded sarcastic, but that was sincere. Of all the things you could spend your time on, honestly, restoring a weird RPG of Doom from 2005 is pretty cool. Other weird stuff, but this is very good and historically preserving things. More than 700 SNES manuals have been collected and published for free on the Internet Archive.
Hell yeah.
To my knowledge, this is only the North American actual SNES releases. It doesn't include, I believe, all the Japanese or Super Famicom releases at all, but, that's a lot of manuals to track down, to scan, to do whatever, to upload, and then to make it all available for free is pretty sick. So if you're missing that, that help manual from Link to the Past, or I don't know, Super Noah's Ark 3D, you fucking go to this place and get the manual so you know what you're doing in the games. Ugh.
Shoutouts to Nier, who definitely had a big hand in that too, by the way.
Nice.
Lots of game preservation stuff going on.
Yep. And then this next one, not so much preservation, but also a little bit weird. Super fans of the original GoldenEye 007 for Nintendo 64 are making a total conversion mod to base it instead on The Spy Who Loved Me, one of the older Bond films.
Was that a Brosnan one?
I don't think so. I don't even know whose was this. It probably wasn't Lazenby. It might have been Moore. Let me see if it tells me in this article. Roger, I was right. Roger Moore.
Ah, nice. Okay. It's been a hot minute since I've even considered any of those old ones.
Right? Yeah. Roger Moore was one of my favorites, though. He did a very good job in some of the older classic ones. But anyways, this
marathon time.
Yeah, exactly. You can probably find him somewhere. It's a shame that the era of Craig is coming to an end, because he was a damn good Bond for his 5. But yeah, so this total conversion mod so far has 3 levels based on various set pieces in The Spy Who Loved Me. Like the pyramids of Egypt, the Alps, a super tanker in the Atlantic Ocean. I don't know the premise behind The Spy Who Loved Me. I don't know the plot. So those premises sound very Bond-like at the very least. So, hey, good.
Yeah. It is.
So
Bond.
If you want to play another Bond game from a bygone era, kind of shoehorned in there. I mean, when you think about it, like the era of N64 and like PlayStation and all those like really early 3D ones were just absolutely rife with movie adaptations into games. So this really fits for a conversion like this. My goodness. All right, enough of the weird stuff. Well, no, that's not enough of the weird stuff, but enough of the weird stuff for now. Some good news, because we like some good news. Microsoft is unrestricting access to more RAM in the Xbox Series S dev kits. The amount of RAM available to Series X games has remained unchanged, but the fact that they're kind of loosening up a little bit more for the lower tier of the consoles is pretty interesting.
Okay, you know what I'm gonna ask, right?
What are you gonna ask? I don't know.
So, is this made available by means of a patch?
I believe so. If they're allowing devs to use that extra RAM, I would guess they would need to filter that down to people who actually consume the games. I would guess they would not make you buy another hardware revision for it. Before I spout off any more lies, though, let me double check that that is actually the case.
In the meantime, let's ask the audience. What's my next question gonna be? It's pretty telegraphed. I believe in you.
Okay. It doesn't say specifically. So I would guess that they wouldn't do the dumb thing and make you buy a new hardware revision. But we do have some numbers here. Xbox Series S has 10 gigs of RAM. Devs, the games themselves are restricted to 8 gigabytes. But hundreds, and this is in quotes, hundreds of additional megabytes will be freed up to be used by games. So I nominally not very much, but compared to the 8 gigs that they have right now, maybe that's enough to squeeze some more frames per second out of it. Who knows? Who knows?
All right. I think EI is on the track that I think he's on. If you're unlocking RAM by means of a patch, you are downloading more RAM, and yeah,
I suppose yes, sure.
Download more RAM.com.
I would liken it more to DRM than downloading more RAM, since it's already there. You just need to unlock it, right? And this is your
so it's a loot box item.
This is your periodic reminder that officially we do not condone piracy, but it is always morally correct to pirate.
Maybe you don't condone it.
I mean, I officially I cannot say that I condone it because of where we are and our current positions and what we are saying, but it is morally correct to pirate. That is all. Other things that are being unlocked that were already there, apparently, after 28 years of Super Punch-Out for the Super Nintendo existing, 2P mode has been discovered, locked behind a very weird combination of buttons, akin to a cheat code. Let me see if I can find what that sequence actually is, because it involves you putting in buttons, pressing in buttons on both the 1P and 2P controllers.
I remember it being like a D-pad plus A kind of combo thing going on.
Yeah, okay, so let's see if I can read this off correctly. Combine the A, B, X, Y array of buttons with up and down on the D-pad to pull off... Oh, no, that's the actual controls of the game. Here we go.
Okay, I was like,
Okay, hold R and Y on player 2's controller, then press start or A with player 1's controller. And then you get dumped to like a debug menu of sorts, which includes a level select screen, so you can jump right to whatever boxer you want to fight. And then it unlocks the opposing boxer, not Little Mac. Actually, I don't think it's Little Mac. Whoever's Little Mac stand-in in Super Punch-Out is controlled by one player as normal, and then the second player controls the opponent, whoever it happens to be. So that's pretty wild. Huh. 28 years. 28 years. And of course, people had to have been looking for this, clearly, because that's not something you stumble upon just randomly. You're not pressing buttons on player 2's controller and then pressing buttons on player 1's controller just to figure that stuff out.
But, like, didn't they only discover this after it was released on Switch?
Which
to me feels like there's more credence to that being a total fluke and a shrug.
Let's see if they described how they discovered this. It does work on the original SNES cartridge, along with the SNES Classic Edition, and the version on Nintendo Switch. This particular article, I do not believe, says how they exactly found it. But it wouldn't surprise me, with especially these re-releases coming out on modern platforms. Actually, there's a lot more people with the knowledge and the time to look at those modern releases, decompile, reverse engineer, etc., to find these combos. So, I mean, even still, very impressive. Very, very impressive. And cool, too. Like, it's not often that you see a 2P mode in a game like this. And so far as what I can see, it doesn't split screen. So the second player playing as the opposing boxer is the one facing the screen. And then first player is still Little Mac or his stand-in, starting at the front of the screen in the Z plane.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting for perspective.
Yeah,
Wait,
it would be weird.
would that be second person point of view?
Yeah, yeah, it would.
I remember talked about this once. Um, okay, cool. We can add that to the list of actual second person point of view stuff. Okay.
Which is also strange because the normal first player is actually third person point of view. It's like
Yes.
not quite over the shoulder, but up and behind, but not first person.
Right.
So we've got a second person point of view fighting a third person point of view in one game, which is kind of amusing. The
That
weird
was actually
shit.
a really interesting tidbit there.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, no.
The weird shit that we come across sometimes. Well, good show to whomever, single person or multiple people, figured this out, because that's neat. That's super cool. And also weird, which is entirely on topic with the show.
Oh, yeah.
But that's all I got for news. How about you?
Okie dokie, let's have a looky here. Fucking GameStop.
Oh boy.
So GameStop's just been, several sharks now and riding them and whatever.
Hmm.
So they did the whole Dogecoin thing, and then they became a meme stock, and then they went to the moon, I guess, at some point. I don't know. Did SpaceX do that? Anyway, they have an NFT marketplace,
Oh no.
and apparently tied to the NFTs can be indie games, and the devs
no.
aren't seeing any money from that, and they're quite upset.
Oh no, was that GameStop's thing doing that? I thought there was something else
Uh-huh.
doing that.
No, it's GameStop.
Oh, oh no.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm feeling a vindictive little thing going on here. I hope they get curb stomped to hell and back. So yay, maybe
Mm-hmm.
they'll die finally.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I have feelings on the whole everything involving NFTs. So
Yeah.
especially if you're gonna rip off indies, like fuck you.
Yeah, that's an
Just
extra special fuck you.
yeah. Yeah. Like they keep finding ways to earn the fuckery more.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, yeah, that's happening. That's ongoing. Keep an eye on the news for that one. I'm real curious what happens. Um, Speaking of other things that involve cash, so I remember you playing the Halo series a lot in college.
Uh-huh.
You were arguably pretty good. I mean, I don't really
Uh,
have a whole lot to base it off of, but we went through Halo 3 together.
is that the
Yay!
one? I remember we were discussing that a few shows ago. We were trying to remember
Yes.
which one you and I played. Was it Halo 3, did we determine?
I think it was because I
Okay.
remember the end sequence with us having to drive some sort of buggy
Right.
thing over floor platforms that disappeared
Yep,
and
yep.
whatever.
That was 3.
So apparently I was able to play without inverted controls back then. So I can learn eventually. I'll do it again. But in any case, Halo 2, that game. So there was a challenge posed by Charlie White, also known as Critical, earlier this year, who initially said, "Hey, I'll give you $8,000 if you can beat Halo 2 in legendary difficulty with 13 of the 14 difficulty modifying skulls."
Hmm.
And nobody took him up on it for a bit. He raised the ante to 20 grand, and someone who is actually quite prolific at Halo ended up getting that 20 grand. It was Twitch streamer. I have no idea. Like, these names don't make any sense to me. It's like random capitalizations, whatever.
Right.
Jervalin?
Yeah.
Jervalin? I don't know.
Sounds phonetically correct at least. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. Apparently this guy has the only question mark Halo 2 lasso run, which is deathless. So did a deathless run of Halo 2 on legendary difficulty with all skulls. Managed to do that earlier this year at just under 6 hours.
Good lord.
This time around, he got it in about 6.5 hours with 13 of 14 skulls enabled. had some difficulties on the very last boss, not eating grenades properly.
Huh.
But got through and got the 20 grand, and obviously it was streamed, so like you have the proof, etc.
So was the
Um,
challenge to just complete the just complete the game with the skulls active, or deathlessly complete the game with the skulls
See, I'm
active?
not 100% on that. I would expect that it would be something deathless because why would you just give someone 20 grand to play the game?
Right.
Um,
Right.
I'm just gonna look through here real quick.
But memory
So, oh, it is.
serves.
Wait, what the heck? Earlier it said it was 13 to 14 skulls. Now it's all skulls. Is that I'm reading here is another lasso thing. Um. Oh, okay. It is deathless, I guess.
Oh,
On
wow.
July 16th, Moist Critical uploaded an 11-minute long video titled "Come Take My Money." Oh, it was earlier this last month. Really? Huh. Oh, did I die?
No, you're good.
I died. No,
Yeah, you're fine.
my display driver decided it was going to crash apparently.
Ah,
So
fun.
that's cool.
Well,
Hopefully you can see me.
you still got video and audio, so whatever it's doing, it shows very weird things to
Okay.
kill.
Cool. All right. Hopefully things are cool. Let's see here. So Mike's Critical uploaded an 11-minute long video titled "Come Take My Money," in which he issued a quote sadistic challenge unquote. Set the ground rules by saying players would be required to beat the first-person shooter Halo 2 on legendary difficulty with every skull applied and not die once. Okay, it is deathless.
Oh boy.
And this was achieved on August 4th. So
So
this
about a month.
video, yeah,
Wild.
that is, yeah, right about. Actually, not even. Shit, that's like half a month. This happened 8 days ago, and I see that there is a YouTube video entitled "Done" with 126,000 views now. Yeah,
Well,
I'm really perplexed as to what the hell's going on with my desktop right now. Like, I have a mouse cursor that changes occasionally, like if I'm near window borders, but only on one display. And
huh.
if I click, nothing happens on anything.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Fun. All right. Well, maybe at Toonski's break. Can you still see your notes, by the way?
No, they're in a different tab.
Oh
But
shit.
I have this handy dandy candy bar of internet in my pants.
Right.
So
Yes.
let me
Those
just grab them off my
sum
phone.
totals of human knowledge that we all carry in our shorts nowadays.
I mean, for once, it's for good. Let's see
True
here.
enough.
0 hour production.
It sounds like you might have to do a little reboot once we get to Toonskis.
Yeah, we'll get there. I'm getting there. All right. Notes. Hey, here we go. Cool. I did it. Sort of. Here we go. Haha. All right. So that was good people winning good money for good things. And now we're going to talk about Diablo Immortal.
Oh boy, throwing bad
So
money after
apparently
good.
they've crossed $100 million of revenue already. And that makes me die a little inside.
Yeah.
However, apparently Diablo 4 was leaked and they made some questionable decisions too. Although it's not finalized, like they weren't ready for anything to get out to the public, but it's out there. So if you want to go look, have a look on that one.
Huh.
But so some streamers who apparently have way too much cash to blow have been spending just shitloads of cash on Diablo Immortal. And some of them are regretting it, but only because one, it took so many pulls for this dude to get like a super rare thing, but also two, this guy in particular spent 100 grand to get good without actually playing the game, but now can't get match made with anybody because his stats are way too high.
Ah.
So like he's in a corner all by himself and he can't do anything.
You played yourself.
So
good job.
yep. Uh-huh. A very, very expensive self-play. But yep. Anyway, Valve. Let's go on to a different company here. So Steam Deck. Steam Deck has been very, very popular. It's received a lot of software updates to try to do thermal management. Windows 11 support is coming, that kind of stuff. It's pretty popular. People are having a good time with it. All remaining Steam Deck reservations will be fulfilled by the end of the year. says Valve.
Hmm.
That gives them
Interesting.
about 4 months. So we'll see how that goes. I received mine. I still have not actually unboxed it. I'm sorry, Tom. I know. I'm sorry. Life is a thing. DLC stuff though. Back to that. Mario Kart 8. Okay. Let me get the full name out here. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 2.
I'm sorry. That cannot be the full name of it. Is
Mario
it?
Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 2.
Oh my god.
That is the full name.
Are they taking lessons from whoever makes the Kingdom Hearts names?
I was waiting for it. Yeah,
Ah,
apparently so.
good
So
gravy.
they've announced 8 new tracks. I'm fairly certain. Maybe it's 16.
Uh,
It's some number of cups. It's 2 or 4. I can't quite
I
remember.
think it's
But
2.
they're also revising Wave 1's content, which
Interesting.
apparently a lot of people were upset at Coconut Mall because the cars didn't move in the parking lot toward the end of the track.
Oh, yeah,
Now
yeah,
they
yeah.
do. So now you
Okay.
can get hit.
That was in
So
the original too, where they moved. It's either between laps or after some amount of time they would
mhm.
go. And yeah, okay.
Yeah, they just kind of went back and forth for some reason. That's all they did. Literally talk shit, get hit now though. So you got what you wanted.
Yeah.
So there you go. Um, so the internet's a thing.
It sure be a
It's
thing.
been used for good. It's been used for terrible. Um, Malware, it's a thing. Viruses, all sorts of random shit. You got phishing going on, spear phishing. Do I need to go into the whole mandatory annual IT training for people? No, no. But so some bright people on the internet decided that it's a great way to con people. And there's this company called Iron Source who, if you ever went to websites that were like, oh, hey, this is a totally legitimate website to download, I don't know, putty or something like that. And it
Source
gives you
Forge.
like setup underscore putty underscore random crap.exe. That company made a lot of those wrappers for installers that like shove a bunch of adware and whatnot onto your PC. So Iron Source is a mobile marketing company, and they just so happen to be bought out by Unity.
Uh,
Um, yeah, a lot of people are upset. Devs are especially upset, and people are wondering if their Unity projects are going to start having random shit bundled in that they can't control. So this is an ongoing thing. This was a very recent acquisition. Their decision to merge was only in the last couple weeks. Um, yeah, Unity making waves again for the wrong reasons.
but wait, there's more. There is more to this kind of thing too. Because following that Iron Source buyout merger, whatever the F it happens to be,
Uh-huh.
uh, there has been another merger offer leveled at Unity as the target now from AppLovin, which is
The fuck
apparently
is that?
exactly. I had never heard of it before either, but apparently it is an extremely large, very prevalent mobile ad tech company. So, if it wasn't bad enough that you got software repackager borderline malware stuff going on with it, now we've got mobile ad tech involved. There has
Uh-huh.
been no official movement on this just yet. It's above a rumor, but far from a done deal type thing. But that
Uh-huh.
certainly does not speak well to Unity or to people thinking about using Unity, and even people who are currently using Unity are obviously very upset, as is their right to be, because hey, Unity actually used to be very good and stood for good things, but
Oh.
yeah, this isn't looking great. Not looking
Uh-huh.
good. And oof, all right, I just saw a picture that I wish I could unsee. Um, but yeah, so
Oh
that's
God.
that's not great. I don't like it.
I
Um,
I just recalled something also gross. Speaking of things that are terrible in mobile, that I did not put in the notes. I apologize. So Tencent Chinese happy crappy mobile / spy on you with stuff code. They want to be Ubisoft's biggest shareholder, and they're making moves to make that happen.
Oh, good.
So, yay!
So
Not that I liked Ubisoft much to begin with these days, but
I'm just gonna confirm something that I think is true. Like, I think Tencent
right.
also owns a pretty good stake in Epic Games as well, right?
Oh
They
god!
sure do. 48.4%. Holy hell.
Holy shit! I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah, that's okay, sorry. It equates to 40% of outstanding Epic shares. Holy shit. So, great. Yeah, so they've got their claws in Epic already, and now they're trying to get their claws into Ubisoft, which, granted, I have no particular love for Ubisoft. I am a little bit more partial to Epic Games based on what they've done, software-wise, rather. Now, granted, Tim Sweeney is kind of just like a whatever dude, but doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great hearing about that now. Oof.
Yeah. So sorry to end on bad news, but
well, that's
go
right.
into good tunes.
That's right. You take the weird, you take the bad, take the good tunes, and there you have our first music break. What do we got?
I love that. That was good. We're going to start with Cowboy by Admix from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team, going into Transformation by Rebecca E. Tripp and Gamer of the Winds. What a good duo. From The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, ending with At Finis Gate by Jorito Bobby Jane DeForge and Chromatic Apparatus from Octopath Traveler.
I'm hoping for something to say, to set you off, let you know now look the other way. So don't push your luck with me, friend. I'm one step away from letting you know how to offend. I'm just a cowboy trying to wrangle my pride. I'm just a loud man who's got something to hide. I'm just a coward, keep my eyes on the Lord, looking for power so I can be ignored. I'm hoping for something to say, to let you know I'm afraid. Don't look the other way. Want me to be your friend? Can you look me in the eyes again? I'm just a cowboy trying to wrangle my pride. I'm just a loud man who's got something to hide. I'm just a coward, keep my eyes on the Lord, looking for power so I can be ignored. One breath, one time, hold me back from the line. One breath, one time, hold me back from the line. So let me say what I need to say. I don't think that I'll need much more. I don't believe in fate. I don't believe that love can erase what he said in James 4. He says that you're gonna ignore those who are proud. Well, you can't ignore me, friend. And all this hope that I feel, yeah, it's in the sounds, and I'm thinking you like in the end. I'm hoping for something to say, to set you off, let you know now look the other way. So don't push your luck with me, friend. I'm one step away from letting you know how to offend. I'm just a cowboy trying to wrangle my pride. I'm just a loud man who's got something to
All right, on to segment number 2, where we talk about what we played since last time, and since our last show was now 2 months ago, those lists will be rather large. Yes.
You just reminded me that it's 2 months worth of stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
remember what I played.
Yeah.
I can tell you what Vlad's been playing that I've participated in.
That you were in
maybe.
the immediate vicinity thereof.
Yeah. So I don't know if we mentioned getting through the base game of Outer Wilds, but we did, and started in on the Echoes of the Eye DLC, which is the only DLC so far. And I think they said it's going to be the only DLC. But anyway, very different from the base game. Significantly different. It actually has horror elements to it, which, yeah, I mean, I guess there were parts of the base game that were kind of scary, but this is actually like, hey, things will happen in the dark and you won't expect them and they'll be scary. And it's true.
Okay.
What they wrote on the tin is true.
Hmm.
They warn you at the very beginning, hey, there's going to be scary stuff. Would you like to turn on reduced frights? Which found what reduced frights does. And in the context of Echoes of the Eye, it's not having things chase you, but they
Okay.
still exist. So
All right.
I don't do real well with not being able to see things and it being very dark for a particular setting of that DLC. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they go after you, but like they don't sprint after you. So, in any case, yeah, I think it's interesting. I think we're probably over the halfway point of discovering things in the DLC. I'm really eager to get to the end of it because there is a remix. I don't know if it's from OCR, if it was just posted on YouTube, but there's a remix that takes melodies from both the base game and the DLC. And I'm not going to listen to it until we get through the DLC because it has music from the end and that kind of thing. And I'm really amped up for it because everyone's like, wow, nobody's really made a whole lot of content for this yet. And this is really solid. And I really want to listen to the music. So we'll get to that one eventually. I've been having a good time. I'm not the one being chased after though. So yeah. There's actually a fan-made mod for Outer Wilds now that I think references things from the DLC, but it's mostly based on the base game. I don't remember the name of it. It was just teased like 2 weeks ago. It's completely free. I'm fairly certain it's PC only, Steam only, maybe. Because I don't think you can really easily mod Game Pass games. They encrypt a bunch of weird shit. But that looked really, really cool. If that's the case, I'll probably just rebuy the game and just to play through the mod because it adds a ton of content, allegedly. I was reading through a text description of what the creator was trying to do with it. But Outer Wilds, real great game. It is a good vibe. It's like Modern Myst, really. It's a little more interactive, but it's one of those open-ended kind of you choose where you go and discover things in the order that you do. And you can choose to discover everything, or if you figure it out, you can just go to objectives and stuff. So it's worth it. I still think it's free on Game Pass, but it's got great music. It's got a good vibe. You can make marshmallows in it over a campfire. So what more could you want?
It sounds like horror done well. Then,
honestly,
if you could even call it horror, I suppose.
There are things that kind of jump out at you in the base game that once you're aware of them, you can anticipate it. In the DLC, like I mentioned, you're in blackout areas sometimes, and there will be jump scares. So that is a pretty big departure from the mood of the first game, or the base game rather. But I think it's interesting that they're able to tell a story in that engine with similar mechanics. That's a very different genre. So I think it's actually relatively interesting. Good music though. It's really solid on that front. I'm trying to recall the other things. Pedestrian, was that the name of the game where you go between signs and you have to do little puzzles and whatnot to bring keys back and forth and drop ladders and all that stuff? I think it was called that. The Pedestrian, maybe?
I don't remember a game named that at all, so I'm going to trust you.
I'm going to just Google it real quick here. Yeah, it's called The Pedestrian. 2.5D side-scrolling puzzle platformer. You are the pedestrian. Yep, okay. Yep, that's the game.
Very good.
That one also in Game Pass. Pretty much everything we've been playing is on Game Pass because when we're traveling, it's easy to take the Xbox.
Yeah, convenient.
Yeah, very. No, that's been a cute little puzzle game. Let's see here. Vlad, I'm gonna tell you all the games that Vlad's been playing. Vlad started Superliminal and did one session of it maybe 4 or 5 days ago now. That's actually pretty chill. I mean, there's a part of it that like wants to call itself scary, but it ends up being a thing. I don't want to spoil anything, but Superliminal is very aesthetic. It reminds me a lot of Valve games. Very, very cute though. Like it's got some GLaDOS like snark going on, and you're still doing puzzles and that kind of stuff in a facility where, yeah,
I see. It's
got a lot of parallels.
Just watching some of like the little teaser gifs and trailers on Steam here, it sounded familiar to me. I was wondering if it was like the spiritual sequel to Antichamber or something like that, but it does kind of give off that vibe of the sort of puzzly, perspective-y type shit that you got to deal with there. And also, I'm getting a little bit of a vibe of The Witness, but with all the libertarian bullshit baked in too. So, there's that.
That's actually kind of an interesting way to segue into looking for more games that are like Outer Wilds, sort of. Like where you have to do investigative stuff and you're putting together clues and coming up with novel ways to do things. The Return of Obra Dinn was recommended. That's not something that really strikes Vlad's fancy.
No, I think I don't know. I think both of you would find a certain amount of enjoyment in that one. I wasn't too sure about it at first either, but it did grow on me a bit.
Maybe. Um, but The Witness has definitely been thrown around a lot. Um, there's another one
Huh.
that's escaping me that I ended up buying because people were bullying me to play it. I don't remember the name of it. It was on Steam. It was a puzzle game. I think it's one that you may have played maybe a year or two ago.
Talos Principle, maybe? That one's quite
That
good.
could be it. And that was another one that was recommended as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Games like that, though, those are actually a little more engaging than I thought they would be. So I'm starting to actually get a little more involved in the discussion / suggesting things realm. I thought I would be super, super frustrated by them because it's like, oh no, I don't instantly understand the gimmick or whatever. But no, it's pretty rewarding. I'm happy with that.
I will say, if one or both of you get into The Witness, there's a class of things in that game that I can tell you can very easily ignore, and you will probably be better for it.
Okay.
But I'll only tell you if you pick it up, because it will probably be very obvious to you, even if I don't point it out.
You've already mentioned one particular descriptor for it,
Yes.
so I can imagine it's
That's
related.
almost certainly it.
That is fair. Honestly, I'm just gonna load up my notes from the last show we did because it has games listed in there that I can probably think back to. Because we've done so much travel lately. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, okay. Honestly, not a whole lot of those. There's been some discussion in getting back to Tunic, but the biggest thing that's preventing us from going back more into it is now that we know how to translate things, there's the desire to translate everything, and that's tedious.
That will impede progress at a reasonable rate, to be sure.
Yeah. So we have 3 secret things, collectibles, we'll say, to get yet, and a certain colored trail to go down at some point. So
I really enjoyed that bit of it, honestly. As frustrating as progressing down that colored trail was sometimes, it was a very satisfying payoff.
That is fair. I don't know a whole lot about it because I've again intentionally been avoiding spoilers, but we're getting pretty far along. We can read things now. We're getting a lot of context clues. I know that we need to continue translating the booklet, and it will give us pretty clear instructions on where to go next, because if you can read it, you can read all of the little ramblings that go on.
I imagine so. It like reflecting back on it a bit, I'm surprised that even if you don't know the language at all, which I didn't, I still don't, by the way, you can still get extremely far by just reasoning about certain things. There was an extremely good amount of design going into that, because honestly, when I looked at the language, my first supposition about it was a pretty basic Caesar cipher replacement of characters. It's not.
Nope.
And after that turned out to be false, I'm like, fuck it. I don't want to take the tedious route of learning all this stuff. I want to play the game. So I did. And that turned out to be a viable route for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the fact that you two are going through the translation and finding that a viable route for you, that's cool. That's good design.
I mean, I think it's fantastic. Props to Vlad for really putting in the work. Like, I had ideas as to how it worked, but I didn't have the notebook in front of me with all of the notes and the things that we could kind of figure out along the way. Like, okay, we know these symbols mean these words, etc. So like, how do they come together? But we have it down now. I at one point he had a good portion of it to the point where you could sight read it, or sight translate it, I guess. But obviously it's been a while since we played, so I don't know how able he is to do that these days. But I'd like to get through that game too. It's really nice. It has a vibe, and then it has a totally different vibe. But then you can get back to the first vibe eventually, and there's some good vibing going on. Like, what can I say without spoiling things? But
Right.
get the game; it's really good. The soundtrack's fantastic. The art style is cute. It may even fall through the world a couple times. That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it happens from time to time, just like in real life. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I guess the only other thing I would say about it is don't let the drive to translate everything stop you from making progress, because it won't. You'll still figure out what to do,
Oh yeah.
even if you don't do
Yeah,
it.
you can suss things out just by context
Hmm.
most of the time. Another thing that I'm going to recommend is I don't remember specifically what it's called, but there's an accessibility feature in there basically to make it so you don't die.
Hmm.
If you're kind of put off of the puzzly part of it because there's combat involved, turn it on, get through the story. It's worth getting through the story. Um, you'll definitely get a good sense of satisfaction just figuring things out, and seeing how much you can suss out before it things become more evident as to yes, you're either right or wrong. But um, the accessibility options are there. There are definitely ways to cheese things in that game too. Um, a very nice community on Reddit as well. They're very, very good about marking posts as spoilers and not being upset at people for asking the same question another post did hours before or something like that. So give it a try. Um, it is Soulsy in a way,
Yeah.
in its unforgivingness, but they give you a way to still experience the game without having to go through the grind if you don't want to. Um, what else have you played, Vlad? I know you're in chat. Um,
Uh,
I'm trying to remember like the games list here. There's that motocross game that's been rallycross. There we go. The rallycross game that's been kind of fun to watch. Yes, Citizen Sleeper. Thank you. Okay. That's another game. Maybe that's why we were thinking of puzzly things. So if you're familiar with, well, okay. So the way that you play Citizen Sleeper is it's basically a visual novel,
okay.
but you get a certain amount of dice rolls that happen per cycle, and you basically are able to go through different interactions. You have a choices to the path that you want to take for things, and it'll say what your dice rolls will give you potentially. Like there's a certain element of chance, but if you spend a particular value on a d6, it will have the possibility of giving you this result and things like that. So it's interesting. It's self-guided narrative stuff. There are a lot of events on timers, both good and bad. Lots of endings. It's a very philosophical game. It kind of gives the question as to what exactly is human or humanity, really.
Okay.
But it's really interesting. The aesthetic is really cool. The music is again good vibes. Um, it's kind of hard to describe. There's just a lot of stuff in there that makes you choose different paths, and not everything has a good ending, or there's a lot of nuance in the decisions you can make that will either net something more or less positive. And the decisions you make impact the rest of the flow of the game. So when you start, you choose a character class, and it's basically like natures in Pokemon, where one of your stats is augmented and the other, another stat is not as augmented, I
Right.
guess, a little below average. Um, but that influences what skills you have based on those stats. And as you go along and complete objectives and storylines in the game, it'll give you points that you can spend on upgrades for your various stats and skills. So it's interesting. It's very much a choose your own adventure book that you can't really go back to older pages if you decide that that decision you made was not good. um, but it's worth a playthrough. It took a fair bit of time to get through it, just because there's so much content. I'm really curious what a speedrun of it would look like. Um, there, like, get to an ending or maybe game over or something. I don't know. Like, it's not a linear thing at all. So yeah, it's really interesting. I recommend it. Dirt 5 is another game that Vlad's been playing. That's a racing game. Um, Again, free on Game Pass right now. We've been watching a lot of various car YouTubers and whatnot over the last couple of years. And Donut Media, they're funny guys. They're actually a personality in this game, I guess. The two main people who do the podcast, they are voice actors and themselves, I guess, in the game, where they're kind of being announcers for the various races and whatnot. And I just thought it was kind of funny because the humor that they have is very organic and it's in the game present.
That's kind of
And
wild.
yeah, it's fun.
Sounds like it would be fun to do though too. Like that's got me intrigued.
Oh yeah. It's good banter back and forth. I mean, just like their content on YouTube, honestly, it's very accessible either way. But it's a fun racing game. It doesn't take itself too seriously, which I like. But it's still actual vehicles, and they have the characteristics of actual vehicles, and the things that you do to them actually change the vehicle instead of just, cool, I have the Dolphin Dasher. That means I can go through dirt now. Like, it's interesting. But it's fun to watch. The real solid soundtrack in that one too. I like game music. Who knew?
Wait a
And
minute.
then that Rallycross thing that I mentioned earlier was Art of Rally. That one's just really chill. Like, it's got cell shaded art. It riffs on cars that exist in the real world, but it gives them funny names because you can't use them because they're trademarked.
Right.
But it's got a vibe. It's got a real good vibe. It has a mode where you can actually be on leaderboards and do races and whatnot, but it also has a mode where you can choose the car you want to drive around free roam in an area and just like go find collectibles by driving around on pavement or where you're not supposed to be and things like that. So it's got a solid soundtrack. It's just been a lot of good games to watch while I'm trying not to panic. So maybe I'll play games again someday. I was talking about getting back to Octopath Traveler at some point. Very excited for that. I've not actually reached the gate at Finis yet. That is a very, very, very late game thing. But fun fact, my network gateway here at the house is called Finis.
I get it.
So
Mine
yeah,
is called Cerberus.
fair enough. Shit. I was interested in trying to get a little more exposure to Slay the Spire. I had a game that was in Act 3 just kind of chilling, and it's with crap. What's the purple character? What's that class again? Not the Evoker, it's something else. But in any case, it's one of those characters where you like actually have to like big brain some stuff. And I just like, after not playing it for a few weeks, I was like, I'm gonna just put this down and come back to it eventually. So I want to go back to that eventually. But after having played through Citizen Sleeper with Vlad and thinking about dice games, I kind of want to actually play Dicey Dungeons now. Like, I've had it for a while because it looks really fun. But I have a feeling that's going to be kind of like a fun casual game that I'll be able to do off stream and just kind of vibe with at some point. there was a demo for a game called Endling, and it had a subtitle of something to do with extinction. But basically, that game is you are a mother fox and you are trying to keep your kits alive in a very harsh area. I don't know if it's like the entire game world that was in the demo, if there's, I don't know. Basically, you have to survive and feed your kits and make sure they don't get caught by poachers and stuff. And it's got a dark vibe to it because you're talking about like, hey, shit's dying. Your job is not to, etc. So
Okay.
yeah, it's got a vibe. But it looked really interesting. I'm not sure if the full game is out yet, but there is a demo available for free. So that was cool. I have talked a ton.
Not bad for not playing any games in the past 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, like I can describe the stuff I've been looking at because honestly, pretty much all of the stuff we've put some time into has been stuff we generally vibed with. I mean, there's been a couple things that are like, but by and large, there's a lot of good content out there. It's not terribly hard to find it on Game Pass. So
Right.
I will say, Microsoft, good job. You have some good things going for you. I suppose you have been doing Shmup Book Club, which I've sent someone your way. I met another person who didn't know that Shmup Book Club existed, and they live in Milwaukee and they play shmups.
Oh no, what then? Wait a minute. So then why is it you as a non-Milwaukee person shepherding them to an ostensibly Milwaukee founded club?
Yeah,
What the hell?
I don't know, man. So I found another person who was directed in the right place and has allegedly filled out forms. So,
very good then.
Good luck.
Very
Obviously, you're all schmupping and whatnot. You've got tons of your own streams going on lately. What have you got going on?
very casually scroll up the SBC channel here to see if I recognize them. Not immediately standing out, but hey, whatever. Okay, so past 2 months have been busy. Obviously, each to their own, right? But I think, oh man, I'm gonna have to look at last shows because I think I had just ended something prior to that show, and then I just started something. So let's look at 103 here real quick. Right, it was in fact Tunic that I had finished up that we talked at length about, both that show and now this show, as it turns out. But immediately after Tunic, I started up playing Rogue Legacy 2, which is a fantastic sequel to Rogue Legacy, which itself was heralded as a very nice indie game, like a very good one of that era. 2015, I believe it was released. So Rogue Legacy 2 came out, I want to say early 2021. Extremely good. Very much in the same vein of Rogue Legacy 1, action platforming, roguelike, etc. Very much more polished. The audio is superb, as it is expected to be. The visuals got a nice upgrade too. Gameplay wise, all the player classes actually feel viable this time instead of focusing around a couple that did the job last time. And there's like 24 of them in Rogue Legacy 2.
Wow.
And they all feel like they're playable, and they've got unique shit to them, and it's just cool all around.
Nice.
And like normal Rogue Legacy 1, you could get through it in an afternoon if you don't fuck around too much. Rogue Legacy 2 is a lot longer. That occupied my time for the better part of like 5 weeks, as far as stream time is concerned. And then I played a little bit, in between after that as well, because it is an extremely fun game. And honestly, it's a little hard to go back and play Rogue Legacy 1 now, with all of the improvements that they've made to number 2 here. But that was a very fun
when
game.
did you say the first one came out?
I want to say 2015.
Yeah,
Let me look
Steam
it up.
says it's 2013.
Oh shit! So it's even older.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
But it was still, I mean, back in the day, that was like one of the shining examples of, oh, hey, indie games are fucking incredible and good, and you should play more of them. And then I'm just gonna confirm Rogue Legacy 2's year. Then I got it wrong. Oh, it was actually this year. Wow, April 2022.
End of April.
Okay, so So, 9 years in between sequels, which, fine, whatever. They did a fantastic job. It's great. It's perfect. Well, no, I won't say it's perfect. You can't call anything perfect, because there's always ways to improve. But it is very good, and I heartily recommend it to anybody who is even remotely interested in action platforming. There is quite a few accessibility options to that one as well, just in case you're not an action platforming purist. You can get a lot more health. The enemies do a lot less damage. If you just want to make it through the story, which is actually quite good and quite well developed, and that does mean something coming from me as one who typically says, story doesn't matter, just give me a fun game. It is quite nice. It does follow along the same-ish sort of spoilers line as original Rogue Legacy did. You'll recognize a lot of the same characters, but aside from that, it's good enough standalone story wise to just kind of take it and run with it. So you don't have to play the first one to understand what's going on. Even
Cool.
though I would recommend playing it anyways because it's still a fun game of 2013, 9 years ago. Oh god, my bones are dust. But yeah, so Rogue Legacy, very fun. After that, I picked up an extremely adorable puzzle platformer named Alekhead. This made the rounds on several of my Twitter feeds because I have more than one because I'm a madman apparently. But it is a very cute 4-color puzzle platformer, and the charm of it is just it's overflowing with charm, and it's not a terribly long game, but I think both you and Vlad would enjoy it a lot. I think anybody who's not typically into puzzle platformers would enjoy it a lot. It's adorable without being like cloyingly adorable. And the soundtrack is a fucking banger, of course. Chiptune stuff. Very, very driving, very like it has one major theme and there's variations of it throughout the levels and you can pick up on it
Ooh.
real easy. Oh yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, theme and variations is kind of bread and butter for me.
Yeah, so you would definitely enjoy it. I would recommend go fucking play it because it's great.
Awesome. I've got one up.
But yeah, it was a short one, so I made it through that one in pretty short order. I might go replay it again because it is pretty good, pretty fun. Even though it like as a puzzle platform, once you know what the puzzles are, it's like okay, there's the magic is gone or whatever, but it is still pretty good. I do still listen to the soundtrack on the regular because it is very bumping.
Do you know who made it?
Tsuyomi.
Okay, not familiar.
Tsuyomi. Yeah, not a name I don't think you would necessarily recognize, but hell yeah, it's a damn fine track. Go buy it. Go play Mars Matron. Go play Elekhead. But it is good. It's like a good pickup. You can do whatever you want with it. You're not going to lose the thread if you put it down for a while. It's extremely digestible as a puzzle platformer goes. After that one was finished off, I started in on Neon White. This is an indie game. It is
I've heard some things about it recently.
Yeah, okay. Well, as it turns out, a lot of us that run in the same kind of circles pick this up at more or less the same time. So we all banter back and forth about it a little bit. But it is a FPS action puzzle platformer that is very anime. And I don't think I can emphasize that enough, but there's a lot of anime going on with it.
Okay.
But even if you ignore all the copious amounts of anime, it is a good game in its own right. The voice acting is superb and fun to listen to, and also very fun to yell at, which automatically ticks a box for me because I enjoy yelling at extreme anime. The storyline is funny. It's kind of loosely, not really a spoiler, but it's kind of loosely based around religious practices, sort of. But it's not like the central focus of it. So it's kind of like it already gets an eye roll from me for that. No offense if you're a practicing religious person. No offense is intended there. But I just already go kind of yeah, all right, whatever. But it is funny. It is funny and kind of looked upon in a very jovial manner. Along with the extreme anime. But it is fun. And it's rather lengthy as well. I've been going strong with it for 2 weeks and I've got at least one more week. The fact that it is kind of based around speedrunning as well is probably going to factor into its longevity a bit, because the
Okay.
levels that you go through aren't intended to be extremely long, and you're intended to get into a real good movement flow and really get the platforming down to meet certain time targets and find certain things in the levels to not necessarily advance the story, but to kind of flesh out the story behind it too. Which of course leads to more anime and more yelling moments and more everything, which gives the game its charm. So that's been fun, and that I'll continue to play for a couple weeks. Oh my goodness. On the SBC side of things, Shmup Book Club, the shmup for month of July was Rekka, otherwise known as Summer Carnival 92 Rekka. And surprisingly, this was a very competent shmup made for the NES, which
Okay.
you wouldn't think is very synonymous with shmups. Sure, you have Gradius and Life Force and whatever, but this was a shmup made in 1992, so end of the NES's like useful lifespan, right? They pulled some wild stuff without like suffering extremely crippling slowdown and sprite flicker and whatever. But they managed to make it work very, very well. Now,
Huh.
given that it's on the NES, of course, they couldn't do a whole lot of quality of life stuff. It's extremely punishing. It does not want you to succeed, yada, 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 which is pretty par for the course for a lot of, I think, console-based shmups or console ports of arcade shmups, whatever. But it is still a technological feat, as well as being, pretty playable for an NES-based shmup. So there was a fair amount of good competition around that one for month of July. Month of August, our shmup is 1941 Counterattack, arcade title. Very much in the 1940X series of popular arcade shmups. There's 1943, 1942. I think there's actually a one entitled a 1940X. But you'd have to ask somebody more knowledgeable about that stuff. There's 1945 Strikers 2 and Strikers 1 and all this. So like obviously like the mid 40s, the mid 1940s, we are coming up closely enough where I have to specify because we are going to live through a different 40s that are coming up, I hope. Was obviously very rife for that sort of genre because it was World War II, air supremacy, air fights, air battles, that sort of shit. So that spawned a lot of shmups based around it, and this is no exception, really. The one P side is the P-38 Lightning, which came to prominence in World War II. That's what was in 1943 as well, and I believe 1942. So it's got that whole 1940X aesthetic going to it for that shmup. A very fun game. Again, unforgiving. Like, that's the shmups of the era. We're just like, nah, feed me quarters more, please, and get off the arcade machine so somebody else can feed me quarters. But it is still very fun. Our quarterly for third quarter here, I guess which will be the first mention of it since we didn't do our July show. So for third quarter, July through September, we have Mars Matrix. Go play Mars Matrix. Very fun game, very interesting scoring systems. One of those ones where it's almost like you need a flowchart to get what's going on, which is fine and dandy. I'm not too much of a proponent of that sort of scoring where you have to keep a full swim lane diagram in your head to be able to get what you're supposed to do. But it's fun enough in its own right that anybody could play it and still have a good time with it. Not SBC related, but for my Sunday long plays, I've picked up Jamestown again.
Nice.
I've been trying to crank through that pretty well. I am now number 2 in the world on Super Gauntlet for the PC version,
Damn.
which I'm rather proud of because it took a little bit of work.
Yeah, that's a big bump for you, isn't
A
it?
little bit of work to make that happen. I think before I started going on again, I was like number 8 or number 7, somewhere around there.
Mhm.
But now I'm number 2, unless somebody stole that away from me again, which is entirely possible. I haven't played it for a week or so. And then in normal Gauntlet, I believe I'm number 5, number 4, number 5. But like kind of the grouping of ranks between number 2 and number 4 is like within a couple 100,000. So that's doable. I just got to make it happen. And then of course on the boards, number 1 is a big cheat, like by a couple orders of magnitude of millions of points. So it's like, yeah, all right, everybody recognizes that as a cheater. So effectively, everybody is one rank better than they think they are.
Does that include you?
Yes, it does. I mean, number 2 is already adjusted. There's no way I'm touching number 1 score. That is on judgment and 1cc and actually good player. So I ain't touching that. Like, that would probably force many controllers through probably all 4 of my displays if I tried to do that. I'm not going to do that.
So what you're saying is if we went back to PAX and had another friendly competition with Jamestown, you could wipe the floor.
Probably, yeah. Like, not to put too fine a
Nice.
point on it, but yeah, probably. And it's like, oh,
Win
of
me
course.
another fight stick, dang it.
Like, exactly. Like, you remember that too, right? And I'm glad you participated in the casual side of the bracket too. And
Yeah.
like, I'm still flabbergasted by that though, because it's just like I wasn't feeling great that day, and like my score was like 8 million or something. I was just like, yeah, all right, this is good enough for maybe number 4 or 5, and I ended up winning. So whatever. Fucking weird.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason I did as halfway decently as I did was because you and I were playing so much.
Right? Like, and that's
although I had never played solo before that ever. So that was interesting.
Right? Yeah, but like I think you would agree it's not the most unapproachable of shmups, just even from a casual standpoint. Like, anybody can play it, anybody can make it through, and it's not really that onerous to get better at it either. Like, sure, yeah, there's the grind to it that all shmups have. You learn the patterns, you develop a route, and you do your thing. But like, you can still feel pretty good about doing it, even just with a moderate to small amount of practice. Which go play Jamestown. It's a fun game for fun people, and the soundtrack is awesome.
I was gonna say, like, that's the big draw. Like, you want to get through those levels because the soundtrack is fucking bumping.
Oh yeah, it is the best.
It is good.
And just go buy the soundtrack on its own, because there are some pieces of those songs that you will not hear in the game that are still extremely good.
Francisco Cerda would love you.
Please release the remastered one soon, please.
Right?
Thanks. I will give you money. But that's it for normal stream stuff. I have been playing a little bit on and off Half-Life 2, both the base game and episodes 1 and 2, which I was not aware of this at the time, but apparently Half-Life 2 is not the same as Half-Life 2 episode 1, which is what I thought. So there's Half-Life 2, there's Half-Life 2 episode 1, and there's Half-Life 2 episode 2. But now, having played through all of that, I kind of understand why people are so in a row about Valve not finishing that series off. Because the ending of episode 2 is kind of like, and very unsatisfying as far as wrapping up even a part of a series is concerned. It's just like, hey, come on, really? You're gonna end it there, guys? No. Let's tie this up. So I get it. I get some of the rage now that people are unhappy with Valve for not finishing that up. Granted, this is from a game that's, early teens. There was the big showcase of the Source engine. So not exactly new. A little bit in Uncanny Valley as far as visuals are concerned, but it's still reasonable enough as a game. But I'd say at this point, probably, I don't know that Valve's ever going to go back and finish that series, which is unfortunate because there are unanswered questions, and I don't like it. But, the fear of threes and whatnot, so what are you going to do? Just this past weekend, I went to an arcade in Cottage Grove, which is Madison area. An actual, like, legitimate arcade with actual arcade cabinets and shit. And they had a lot of good stuff, a lot of real good classics. It played some Missile Command with an actual trackball, Arkanoid with an actual turn dial to move the paddle. That was sick.
Nice.
They had a fair few shmup cabs there too. They had the classic 1943 was there, Raiden 2 was there, Raiden Fighters was there. So I blew the scoreboards on those a little bit. Classic Asteroids, the actual Vector Asteroids cabinet, which is so sharp. Oh, I love that so much. I would love to have one of those myself. Dig Dug and Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and Gorf And that's just like on the real classic side of things. They had a bunch of other cabs like just ranging up to almost near modern stuff too, which was super cool. And a fairly sizable room full of pinball tables too.
There you go.
So yeah, that's how you know you're in a good ass arcade. You got all the arcade cabs, and you got your good set of pinball tables too. Like that was fun stuff. So when you eventually become local again, there, Tormod, we should hit that place up again.
We'll have to give it a try.
It's very cool.
I saw one when we were, God, where the hell were we? I had to go pick something up, and we drove past an arcade that had Pac-Man and what looked like Zelda 2 Ganon on the window that was painted on. I have no idea what the name of the place was, but the only photo I took was of Z2 Ganon so that I can send it to Eon, and I forgot to do that. So maybe I should do that.
Well, there you go. Here's your reminder to do that.
Yeah, all right.
All right. I think that about covers the past 2 months for me. My goodness. It's a lot.
Nice.
Whew. All right. Well, that's enough talking from both of us for now. Let's hit Toonski's number dose here. Starting off with a track that title is so long I have to expand the tab to read it all. A remix from F-Zero entitled "When Your Mom Mistakes Captain Falcon for Captain America Again" by Vijay van der Wijzen, followed by a remix from Secret of Evermore entitled "The Ivory Gambit" by Sori, Andy Rue, and Ji Young Lee, and then finishing off with a remix from Hollow Knight entitled "Mystic Mycology" by Donut, Sean R. Hansen, and Deckles. All right, we're coming to the end of our little production here, but before we do that, we need to do some production of a different sort by
Hey.
designing a game live based on random stuff that this Let's Make a Game.net gives to us. So, as the site says, let's make a game.
Alrighty. So, upon opening the link, we won't use this because we didn't explicitly roll this one. However, we have one each of a genre, rule, setting, and theme. This genre is art game. The rule is unconventional movement. The setting is alternate history, and the theme is isolation. Seems very misty, but you know.
Yeah, it really does. Art game wasn't a very strong open, but then the rest of it kind of fell into place, and I was like, oh, that could have been good. Oh well.
Yep. So it is time for roll number 1. Let's hope that my shit doesn't freeze for a third time in the show. Okie dokie. Wow, this is actually kind of strong. Okay, we have 2 genres, 1 rule, setting, and theme.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep, let's go.
Genre number 1 is hack and slash.
Okay.
Genre number 2 is turn-based.
Okay.
So the rule here is enemies as weapons.
All right.
The setting is World War. And the theme is treasure hunt.
Huh. Interesting.
So this feels like a Final Fantasy Tactics that is more about CQC and also using your own weapons, I guess, but intentionally utilizing enemies to thwart their companions, perhaps. And maybe the treasure hunt part is... Trying to figure out like how you would like fit that in with World War.
Right.
Like
that's kind of the tough
I'm trying
part.
not to instantly go to Nazis because they
Well,
pilfered everything. But
cool, Godwin's Law. We did it.
Damn it.
It only took us 104 rounds.
See, I'm trying to find a spin here, like because there's a war, it's exposed a lot of ancient monuments or something like that. Something, I don't know. While people are too distracted by trying to kill each other, you are throwing enemies off the path by using them against themselves and stuff, and then you're trying to do this archaeological or whatever exploration and stay out of the way and hopefully not draw too much attention. I don't know. This is kind of a stretch, but spitballing, it's what we do.
Yeah, like all I can think of this one is like the literal board game of Risk, where the pieces fucking
Oh
pick
shit.
each other up and beat the hell out of each other.
I've never
that's what
played
I
it.
got. You know, I don't think I really have either. I've seen people play it. I know the concept behind it, but it always felt like such an actual slog to sit down and play that I never did.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyways, we seem to be talking about this set of stuff like longer than we would if we were unless going to immediately discard it. So, do we feel like we should go with a first roll? That'd be wild. That'd be a change of pace, wouldn't it?
I'm not sure I feel like this super strong, but it's better than the random bullshit we usually get for the first roll.
Yeah, that is true. Like, there's a significant chance of a downturn in rolls 2 and 3.
I don't know. Like, I'm
Yeah,
feeling
it's
kind of
hard to say.
adventurous here, but
Okay, but all right, let's follow that instinct then. All right, see in hell, hack and slash turn-based enemies as weapons, World War treasure hunt. 07.
all right,
F's
roll
in
two.
chat.
All right. Ooh, okay. This is kind of juicy too. So we got one
Okay.
each this time.
All
The
right.
genre is fighting.
Okay. Interesting.
The rule is everything has a cost.
Haha. All right.
The setting is dystopia,
A little on the nose, but all right.
and the theme is detective.
Huh.
So you're a bad cop.
Okay. Lots of fisticuffs going on in the course of your detection.
Yeah, so this is instantly some kind of noir.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking about too. Fucking
Like, it writes itself.
really does. Okay, you know, I'm like a strong yes on this one. Like we could do this. We can make this
Yeah,
work.
I'm okay with that. So actually, hey, EI, because I am not familiar with Shadowrun, just give me
Shadowrun.
like a small, give me the lowdown. I don't know.
He'll be able to explain it way better than I could because I just have a very few words for it that might make sense, but then there's definitely some other shit that goes with it.
Pressure's on, EI.
Because it's like cyberpunk, but also high fantasy stuff is what I can think of for Shadowrun. And the best example I have for actual Shadowrun is SNES Shadowrun. So that's probably not at all what it should be represented as, but it is a fun little romp to watch that sometimes.
Yeah, I'm afraid to like open tabs and search for stuff because I don't want my shit to freeze again.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Cyberpunk dystopian future corpos have taken over, but there's also magic elves, orcs, high fantasy garbage, right? So
Okay, that actually sounds kind of badass. I like it. Except you are okay. So that except you are a detective who's actually trying to do the right thing, but in order to do the right thing, you have to beat some shit up. Yeah. Okay.
at some sort of high cost because everything has a cost, right?
That's true. Man, okay. So the Finder book series, real interesting. This is very similar to a character and that entire character's arc that I'm thinking of here. By the way, I think it's a trilogy. I think maybe it's a quadrilogy. I don't know. Good books. They're audiobooks as well. Oh shit. I'm getting corruption on my screen. I wonder if it's my graphics card taking a dump here. God damn it. Like, I can move things around, but I'm getting, like, tearing in the chat window, which is weird. Anyway, I'm not going to touch that for now. The Finder series, it's good. Go listen to those / get the books and read them. But it's futuristic. Lots of shit is dystopian. Old school cop, been retired, trying to finally solve a case from way back when. And needed that one last job to pull all of the loose ends together and whatnot. Yeah. Good shit. I'm all for this. Oh man.
All right.
Everything has a cost. So there's got to be a motive for the story. Like, trying to think.
Okay.
So basically, as a result of going through and trying to do this goal, this detective character ends up losing it all. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, sacrifices himself in order to end goal. I don't know.
Or even something a little less extreme, but also kind of costly to him, like, or whoever this person happens to be. Like, maybe start off pretty well off, like they're upper class or upper middle class or something. Like they could be comfortable if they did nothing, right? But
Gotcha. Yep.
whether they have some sort of internal morals or ethics or whatever driving them to do the right thing, which would cost them a lot, possibly even their lives, if you choose to go that far. That might be the everything has a cost bit. Like you could do nothing and get the bad end essentially, right? Shit's still bad, but you're living a luxurious life, but it's so hollow and
you're
whatever.
a cog in the machine, etc.
Exactly. Or you could try to do good things, get the good ending, but then you are much worse off personally. But you feel good about it. Who knows, right?
It's true. Like you lose your credibility, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. There goes your reputation. You're outside your normal social circles or whatever. But you can live with yourself essentially.
So the kind of vibe I'm getting there is you stumble on something that's very hard for people to believe. And you have to put everything on the line to see it through to the end, no matter how unrealistic it is. And you'll lose companions, the trust of your friends and colleagues, I guess. But you stay true to your gut, and assuming you don't waver and give up, despite all of the odds, you manage to make it through. That kind of thing.
Okay. Yep.
So that's a very easy traditional story arc that you can write right in for that. But I think it'd be interesting for player to be given many opportunities to have an out, or to waver on the morality scale, I guess, or with their ethics. And it'd be good for this not to be so cut and dry, black and white kind of thing, too. Like, you can still accomplish your goals, but how you go about that will determine interactions that you have in the game, how people react to you, what your reputation is, that kind of thing. If you're feared, or, I don't know, people want to go out and kill you because they think you're weak, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yep. With you. Just ticker tapping out the notes here.
No, that's totally good.
All right, so you find out about this bad things, underlying undercurrent of garbage. Despite the luxury that you're living in right now, things are comfortable, you like it, but shit, there's something real bad with this. Oh boy, if that doesn't hit close to home. So you decide to do something about it, and you try to do something about it in so much as you want to make things right, obviously, but you also don't want to lose everything that you've got in the process, right?
So suddenly, as you describe it that way, it gives me kind of Eldritch vibes.
I mean, yeah,
Or
I can see that being an angle too, right?
like the Werewolf the Apocalypse kind of universe, where there's this like undercurrent of otherworldly things happening, and a normal person stumbles on it, and it's just this hole of everything that kind of explodes as a result.
Right.
Like, if you wanted to go that route, I guess you could, but the noir route, like just pure, not weird, otherworldly shit, is obviously a path that can be taken.
Like, and feels kind of bad to say this, but like normal human shit, right? Like
Yeah.
here is a society that's built up around whatever, and then you see some of the underpinnings of it, and you're like, ooh, ugh, this is how it goes, huh? I don't feel good
Uh-huh.
about that. And then you set out to fix it, right? Or fix whatever you
Yeah.
can fix. It does speak a little bit to what we did. Maybe it was last show, or maybe there was the show before with kind of like tugging at the edges of reality type thing.
Oh, sure.
Whatever that one was. Was that 103? Go look.
You do it.
I'm right there. I didn't want you to do your thing. Yeah, that was the one.
Cool.
About
Give me a reminder of how it went.
so the title was Deep into That Darkness. Death is a new
Ah.
beginning, essentially escaping realities until you find the actual truth of things, right? Maybe that was the one before, actually. Let me peel back one more. Oh, that was the one before it, actually. Yeah. All right, never mind.
Okay.
Space opera, top-down shooter, 1 minute, descent into madness,
Right.
breaking time loops. Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
one I was
okay.
thinking.
We make some cool shit.
We do, we really do, and we never give ourselves enough credit for it.
Sure.
But back to our fighting detective noir,
Uh-huh.
which is super cool. So as a detective, like so now is this like an official professional detective, or is this someone who becomes a detective during this thing because they want to find out what's going on? Maybe they can't trust the official detectives with this because they're paid off or they're in on the jam or whatever.
So that's a good question. And I've now thinking about that, I think it would be interesting for the player to kind of world build on their own before the scenario or the real actual game starts. So consider something like the beginning of Firewatch. Are you familiar?
I know the basic concepts, yeah, but not
So
beyond that.
basically, you are kind of given a loose pathway through here, all of these life experiences. What did you do in those moments, kind of thing?
I see. Okay.
And it determines some world building stuff right there. So we could have it so it is weird, otherworldly shit, or we can have it be the world is awful and corruption is just rampant everywhere, and this is just how shit is. And determining like the angle and the personality, and I guess also the flaws of the character by forcing answers to questions.
Okay.
So actually, that's really interesting because you could build in quirks and flaws as well as inherent strengths that way too. You can't not choose things in prompts though, so you'll always have to have some kind of weakness. But that will shape how you go about things. I like it.
Okay.
This is real good.
I see this tying in pretty well to the fighting aspect too. Because if you go along those lines, like given this series of vignettes or whatever of making
Mm,
choices, okay, which side or sides do you want to fight against in this instance? And that
sure.
defines like what your character is, what you're trying to discover. Maybe it affects how you discover things and what things you can discover to begin with, right? You fight this side, you miss this certain detail. You fight this side, okay, you see a broader perspective on things, but you miss X, Y, and Z evidence of something else, right?
So this is starting to remind me a little bit of Deus Ex,
Yeah, I can see that too. I mean, that's
which
very
I not
dystopia.
played any of the games of in that series, and I really, really need to.
Yeah. I haven't played any of the classic ones in the series. I haven't played like Deus Ex or number 2. I've played Human Revolution, and I
Gotcha.
want to play whatever's after that because I know one exists, but I haven't gotten around to it.
Hmm.
But yeah, it does have a lot of that vibe too, which is not bad. Like that's a good series.
Okay. Definitely dystopian.
Yeah, hell yeah, dystopian. All right. So what I see in my mind's eye a little bit as far as input method here is it seems like there's two different phases here: the detective phase and then the fighting phase, right? Um, So I see that as being
Suddenly Phoenix Wright.
right. Well, yeah, you're right. You kind of is. Where I see the detective phase is more of a point and click, and then the fighting phase goes like to a standard arcade fighter, either an actual like FGC fighter, which 3, 2, 1 fight type thing, or a
Yeah,
beat 'em
yeah.
up, or like a final fight type thing. I don't know. I could go either way on that one. I'm not really partial to either of those, but this is a fighting noir detective game. Who cares?
So I'm trying to think of a way that would make those fights substantial. Like, rather than being like you're on a single screen, you can't scroll left or right, that kind of thing. Um, have it be, oh man, okay. So with this being a kind of choose your own adventure visual novel kind of thing as it is with all of the prompts and whatnot, at least in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to think like, what about handling it like Radical Dreamers kind of did? So like you have a background where it's very definitely the area that you're exactly in right now,
Right.
and something suddenly happens and you have 5 seconds to make a decision like, do I try to stab or roll on the ground and avoid being hit, that kind of thing. I think it'd be interesting to have encounters like that. You're still fighting, but it's not like a complete departure from the jive of the game, I guess. So I think actually along those lines, it'd be interesting to have a hidden HP counter or a condition or something like that.
Okay. I mean, sort of quick time-ish events, but not like sudden. You get 1 second to decide.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not going to be a complete mystery like this shit just happens all of a sudden. Like, there's going to be something happens, you're in a dialogue, you walk into a room, they all stare at you. You get the line of text like, everybody stood up from their chairs and looked at me.
And then
Shit.
yeah, you decide what to do. And does this lead into let's talk about our differences, or does it lead into an actual like full-on ass fight scene type thing?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's great.
Okay.
And this actually gives me Citizen Sleeper vibes too, actually. So if you like this kind of thing, definitely check that game out.
Okay. Good. Good. All right. It's during the normal detective narrative, right? Normal detective narrative. Explore the surroundings. And then certain action events happen. Make a quick decision, which will lead to, I don't know, other action events, back to narrative surroundings, or into a full fight. Seems good.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of goes under point of view as well.
It'd be interesting instead of like it being a foregone conclusion once you're actually in a fight that you have to like do this whole big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be interesting to have opportunities to have alternate outcomes in the middle of things too, based on how you grew as a character over time, I guess. Like if you can find an interesting way to diffuse a situation, if you can cause a distraction,
Sure.
if you can set off the fire alarm or push over a stack of books or something like that, if you're a high strength kind of person, etc. Yeah.
So you can get into a fight, but then there is one or more outs of it, right? Like you can beat the other side into submission, sure, but you can also do something else to exit that scene.
Yeah. Like if you were to have more creative ways to get out of situations, it might be a character who's more, if we're going to use classic RPG stats and stuff, like int based rather than strength based. or dex based if you're going to be able to run away or hide or subterfuge, etc.
Right.
Yeah, shit, that's real cool.
And even if there probably would be a couple, like, absolutely you are going to enter a fight no matter what you do. Here, you can still get out of it somehow without having to, like, here's the pacifist route through this. Here's how you can do it. Even if you're
You
not,
got to work for it though.
yeah, you got to work for it, or you can power through it if you've got the right build, or you can do X, Y, Z other things to make it work, right? All right, I'm with it.
And I like negative outcomes that don't necessarily mean that you died. Like, you could get captured, or
Right? There's
you could be forced to give up the proof of some big thing going on. You have to relinquish something. Like,
varying costs, right?
yep.
Everything has a cost. Okay. Good. Well, even based on just all of that, we're really just down to audio style and inventory. These we've kind of had some trouble filling these bits out sometimes, because sometimes just like, audio style doesn't really matter. Inventory doesn't really matter as much in some of these.
So I think the quiz questions at the beginning of the game will determine the world building in large, like the kind of setting and things like that. And I think once we get an idea of like how the world be, we'll be able to have a starting inventory that makes sense for that kind of character.
Sure.
So I think based on decisions the player makes, the inventory, the character archetype, etc., just kind of happens programmatically. Like, you can have like a choice of, do you want to be human or do you want to be some sort of android? Do you care about gender? Like,
Sure,
you can have
sure.
some stuff in there, like, sure, you have some customizability, but like how you answer the questions fundamentally is like what defines that character's motive, their, yeah, etc. It's just a lot of the same. But
Okay.
styles for stuff though, like, I really dig how Citizen Sleeper did things. They had very detailed environments and character portraits for like the conversations that are one-on-one, but it wasn't distractingly detailed. Having interesting things to look at and engage with is really important for a game like this, especially with it being made now. Like, sure, people can play other games, Mass Effect, whatever, if they want to have a dialogue spinner and things like that. But like, the different worlds that can be made as a result of these decisions that the character makes need to be very unique. And we'd need to come up with a way to make it a very, I don't know, make a strong impression artistically to keep the interest and the imagination going. So I think I'm trying to remember the artist. I think almost a hand-drawn style would be interesting. Not like super detailed, but almost, it's not watercolor either, but like, I don't know. Just a lot of detail in things like shading and color variation and shadows and
Right. Like very stylized.
just a lot of
for the
contrast.
style that it picks. It's not trying to be photorealistic. It's not trying to be generic ass. Hey, I recognize this could be any urban street somewhere. Like, no, man. That ain't cool. There's plenty of games that do that.
So there would have to be really strong art direction on it, and it would need to be very creative, very different, make it actually feel like a lived-in world. And with that in mind, the type of world that just kind of happens as a result of these choices the character makes, audio design would definitely go hand in hand with that too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like if it's a early 20th century kind of setting that gets generated as a result of this, obviously it would have to be something similar,
Right.
futuristic or underground or otherworldly. Like the audio style is going to vary for that.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it. Okay, that leaves title. The most difficult of all things.
I already thought of something really, whatever.
Yeah, throw it
I've
out.
watched Full Metal Alchemist and everything has a cost. And immediately my brain went to equivalent exchange. But
I mean, yeah, that's not, you're not wrong. Now, to riff off that a bit, with everything that has a cost, would it be a worthy exchange?
you're not going to know until you're past the point where you can say, I'm willing to do this or not.
Okay, worthy exchange? Question mark? I'm kidding.
Yep.
I'm kidding. That would be kind of weird, even for us. Well, then again,
I mean, I'm thinking of something like Sacrifice, but not so plain.
is that too on the nose, maybe as well?
Yeah,
Overplayed?
probably.
Yeah. Okay.
I really want to get something that's short and sweet, but definitely gets the right mindset of there being substantial personal risk.
Yeah. Like, what do you... It's like exchange rates, risk and reward. Like, it's very finance-based stuff, which is stupid. I don't want to go along that
Yeah.
path necessarily, but...
Let's see if the internet lets me do this. Ooh, that's interesting. So oh shit. Okay. So what if we took a slightly different angle and there's already built in a motivation to correct a wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily a wrong that this character did, but feeling that sense of obligation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we get some interesting things like penance or atonement or reparation and things like that. Oblation is interesting. I want to see a specific definition for oblation because that feels
Yeah.
really
I didn't
specific.
didn't know I'd be learning words tonight.
Oh, this
Ooh.
is a thing presented or offered to God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not so much then. It's an
But
interesting
it has
word,
the
to be
right
sure.
kind of feeling to it.
It really does.
It's an intense personal sacrifice that to an outsider they wouldn't have the context for it.
Yeah, gift, offering, presentation, sacrifices. Looking at the thesaurus for oblation, and it's kind of generic.
Yeah. Redemption, amends, indemnification,
Yeah, it's like an offering,
recompense.
offering, atonement,
Ooh,
expiation.
recompense is interesting.
Recompense is also interesting. Yeah. Let me look at the dictionary definition for expiation, because that sounds rad.
Ooh.
Yeah, the means by which atonement or reparation is made. Okay. That's interesting. That might be a little out of left field, but that is interesting.
Well, I mean, it is awfully succinct, though,
It really is.
because you, the player, are the means of this happening. Or not happening. You might fail. You might decide it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm cool with that. I thought you had another little like interested noise there. Did you follow another path down to some other words?
I just started. I like the word. I think there's probably something that would like actually fit the bill super well, but I'm not thinking of it. But that vibe is what I would want to go for. Um.
Yeah. Like I can almost see a different word, but I can't make the connection to it now.
Yeah.
But I get where you're going with it, which is cool. Solatium. What the hell does that mean?
Solation?
Solatium.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. Something given in compensation for inconvenience, loss, or injury. This is the recompense part. This is the reparation of it. But
Right,
like
right.
the
Okay.
the noun of the reparations, essentially. Interesting. So that would be like the back half, the redemption arc of this detective noir.
Right.
Interesting. That's chapter 2, I guess.
Well, that's actually interesting. We could have a stylized title that's recomp. I cannot say that word. The first one / Solatium recompense / Solatium or something like that.
Like, yeah, if we could do some weird like live a live does or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that sort
Which,
of wordplay with it, which would be just top tier wordsmithing, but I am not in a state to do that right now.
ooh. Okay, so this is interesting. So Solatium, a compensation given as solace.
Oh,
That
interesting.
explains the root of the word.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, that does.
Damn, I really like
Solace.
that then. So something / Solatium actually really fits this.
Expiation / Solatium. Wow, that's a mouthful.
Nah, I think I'd want a shorter word for the first
Yeah, a
one.
different word for that. Let me back up. Let me back up in
2
my
or 3 syllables, maybe.
history of my thesaurus here. Redress. That's a bit shorter, but not quite the same. Restitution is a bit longer. Indemnity. Reprisal. Reprisal kind of works in 2 different ways. I kind of like
Yeah, I
that.
suppose.
Here, it's retribution, which is kind of fun. That's kind of the first bit of it, right?
True enough.
Okay, I don't hate it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, reprisal / Solatium. Wow, that has got to be the most like Harvarded title we've ever done,
Learning all kinds of words tonight.
right? Hell yeah, SAT vocab.
There you go.
Gonna get that 1800 or whatever the heck it is.
Meh.
Okay, cool. That's all the sections filled out, plus a damn fine game behind it. Like,
Yeah, no,
I'm-
this is real
I'm
badass.
feeling good with that. Okay, so
Yep.
now we are coming to the actual end of round 104. Any
Woohoo.
further little tidbits we need to express? Otherwise, we can wrap for tonight.
I think we're probably good for now.
Excellent. Well, thank you once again, everybody, for joining us. I'm Mr. Bond.
I'm Tormod.
And we'll leave you with our typical closing track, a remix from Mario Kart Wii entitled Wind in Your Hair by Overclock University. Good night, everybody.